It's people. We haven't played Van Halen in a long time, and I haven't played that in a long time, so I forgot how to play it, which is...
It was good.
Evidence that I'm getting old, and my memory is getting really crappy.
Good. I saw David Lee Roth was singing the other night at some show.
You know, he's pretty damn good, man.
He was good. Yeah, he's...
Hey, Stephanie.
Hi.
How are you? Oh, my God.
Well, the fire I thought I had to put out today ended up being a Monday problem, so that's fine.
Oh my God!
Take it to
so
Monday.
good to see you,
Monday.
Girls represent.
Yeah, I know, on two corners. Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm using my phone, so I'm not. Like literally out in this middle of nowhere, no man's land where I live. We're having internet issues today, so I'm on cell. So y'all let me know if it's bad.
Really? Actually, it's pretty good.
Okay, good.
Geez, look at this. He has problems. He's doing sign language.
Stop doing that. You're going to make me feel like it really is a massive issue.
Oh, my gosh.
You should use the AI caption tool.
Yeah, what is going on, Rob? Yeah, take your earphones off, dude.
He's wearing his AirPods and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
We can't.
I don't think they are. They don't look like AirPods. They look like a third party, right?
Like that. He's got the $29 AirPods. Oh,
yeah, the imitation. Right.
Yeah.
The Bluetooth 4 version is no good.
Here we go.
Yeah. So, hey, you haven't been on for a long time, so let's catch up and start off with you. What's up?
Me?
Yeah.
Man, it's been busy season. I feel like I'm just now in a stop mode from travel and weddings and business trips and all of that. So I'm like, ooh, I'm home for a week. This has been nice.
Yeah.
It's been busy, good busy, you know?
Yeah, you have your awards. You have your Compass Awards, right?
That's busy because right now it's a lot of back and forth with a lot of the award winners. And with all of that, though, it's kind of, it'll wind down in about a week or two. And then it's a good season. It's spring. School's about to end. All the kids are home. Oh, yeah. The college kid came home.
Oh, how was that?
3.4. Not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. Not bad at all for first. Was it a first quarter or first year? First year.
No, it's his first year. But he didn't do as well last semester. This semester, he's figuring it out. You know.
You know what you got to do is you got to just make him like work and study at the same time.
Well, he's coming home this summer to work on his commercial pilot's license and to work full time.
Okay. So. All right. I found, especially going to school at UCSD, where we have the beach just right down to cliffs.
Lots of distractions.
If you take 20 units, which 16 is normal, you will get much better grades because being distracted by beach and all your friends going to surf and just go swimming and sunbathing between classes doesn't do a lot of good for your grades. That's what I discovered, especially if you go this.
There's so many online classes or hybrid classes where you only need to show up once a week. Like we didn't have that. We had to show up every class. Like they haven't made
7 in the morning.
They could do more than 20 hours if with all of that online stuff. That he has so much free time. It's unreal.
Are you saying that college is not reflecting anymore the real work life? Oh, wait a second. Actually, it
We're all
might.
working from home.
It is reflecting the real world life.
Get this guy.
Okay, so here's the funny thing that I'm also learning too, and I know all of these colleges have this great software that allows them to test whether the paper they just turned in is AI written or a element of AI. They're all still using it, and there's so many workarounds.
Yeah.
There's like AI tools to combat the AI detectors. These kids they will find a way and they will figure it out to make the grade.
I would definitely hire the one who can game the system and play the system. I would hire the person who can play the system because that means they're smart and can find their way through it.
Yeah.
Although there's something to be said for paying a bunch of money to take classes and then cheating on your classes. I guess it's
exactly. We're
understand the logic.
You're sending them. Yeah, you're sending them to school to figure out how to become a criminal. That's awesome.
They learned how to work the system growing up as a kid, and now they're getting even better at it. And when they go to the workforce, they're gonna, just like people when everyone had to be on Zoom or whatever, Microsoft Teams, they found those tools that move their little mouse every so often, so it looked like they were working all day.
Those people are not going to go far in life. That's just my
No.
Well, you can see that big firms are starting to chase them and fire them. So,
see, that's the irony, though, right? Because they say that the person who knows how to, your job won't be taken away by AI. It'll be by the person who, knows how to use AI, right? The truth might actually be quite the opposite. Is a person who actually bothered to learn anything themselves and become valuable as a human is going to take over the job of the individual that the company thought knows AI and can do something productive. Instead, this person is doing nothing valuable, just trying to
flicking their mouse back
in the system. Yeah, but no, this is such an interesting dynamic because I was at RSAC, right? They keep flashing up this number. Now it's like 10 billion of how quickly the cyber criminal economy is growing, right? And the problem is you have more and more CEOs, and I'm not going to name names, executives complaining about the younger generation and how, and so, I'm not pointing out anyone specific saying it, but you hear this more and more. These younger generation folks don't have skills. They come in with a sense of entitlement, and they have no attention span and no commitment or very little commitment to do something that requires sustained effort. And
therein lies the opportunity for listening out there. There's an opportunity to differentiate yourself as an early in career person by being that sort of resource that can be fungible and get stuff done and be persistent and attention to detail and forget about all the fancy AI tools. Just be good at your job and help people out. And you will actually be highly differentiated in the workforce compared to your peers.
Although I would say I was at A&M a couple of weeks ago and met with a group of probably 10 engineers. And it was quite the opposite. They seemed very well grounded. They were very well spoken. They kind of had a really good speaking presence, which I was surprised because a lot of the engineers can be introverts at times, but they seem pretty well balanced. And so, but we asked them about AI, and they're leveraging AI more as a tool for research and to ramp up, but they're not leaning on it for these guys, right? And I'm not talking about all kids. They're not leaning on it for the production of their report or the production of their, deliverable that they have to put out, for their engineering project. And then the capstone stuff, it's all hands-on. I think the balance is for some of these classes that are more hands-on. There is no, you have to show up. You have to actually do the work. Do it. So
yeah. And I think there's a lot of really great students coming out of universities these days, no question about it. So unfortunately,
do you think that's why though a lot of the big corporations are now going back to essentially everyone's been given a deadline? You're now back in the office.
Yeah.
No? Are they're fed up?
They'll get worse.
Yeah, the whole RTO policy thing is tricky. It's a cultural thing for the company and the engagement. Personally, I think it's good to like Microsoft, for example, doesn't have a required RTO, but it's sort of like 3 days a week is the expectation, and here's why: the benefits of interacting with people serendipitously is more productive. I think the whole either move here or get fired is. Some companies have that culture, and I think if you want to work there, you should work there. If you don't, you shouldn't go somewhere else. So,
well, there's a lot of that happening too.
Yeah.
But before we continue any further,
vote with their feet.
Welcome everyone to IoT Coffee Talk. Remember, take us seriously at your own risk. And if you take us too seriously and you end up investing in some weird stock, that's your fault. So remember to take full liability of any decisions you make, even though, Rob makes some really good ones sometimes.
True.
Sometimes.
Well, Rob's
you have to.
He's a professional.
Rob, are you a listener today and not a talker? We can't hear you.
He's trying to get his Bluetooth 4 headphones to work.
Yeah. It's not coming through. Dang.
It's so weird.
He looks like he's in a cool lobby of some nice hotel.
Mode.
Ooh,
that looks like a swank hotel. That's what these IDC folks, they go to these swank hotels and they,
a little bougie, a little VIP.
Very bougie, very bougie.
Yeah. This might be dangerous for him. He might explode because, he's always wanting to say something, right? And he might, there you go.
You're going to start holding up little index cards.
Sign language.
With a Sharpie.
Yeah. Where's your AI, transcriptions?
There's the transcription, man. Where's Zoom when you need it? Zoom AI.
Are you going to take off?
We
took
lost.
Oh, well.
Hopefully you can reconnect.
Too bad. I know. Jeez. I think that's like a first to tell you guys,
Yeah, Rob is speechless. That's a first.
Yeah, that's a first.
And Marc, you're in the vehicle with that nice sunroof.
I see that. Look at that fancy thing.
Yeah. It's hard to be on episodes while I'm not commuting. So.
Oh well, yeah. At least your mobile networks are up now, so looks pretty good actually. Not that bad.
I mean, it's European network. I mean, it works, right? If we have power.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, RSAC, I just recently had a conversation, about education, and along the lines of what we were talking about earlier, Stephanie, and you mentioned at Texas A&M, the engineers are going to the lab and stuff, that AI actually is becoming problematic in education because it's detaching students from actual learning, right? And so changing the curriculum actually and the teaching methods to actually strip away AI and force people to learn, going to the labs and making things like scenario based or team based is something that some educators are starting to lean into. Because it's just too difficult to prove that any of the students actually did any of the work. And, homework is still going to be a huge problem, right? Especially for lower grades. But, putting people into like the way that they test, you have to test in a way where you actually have no access to devices. And, I think there's an increasing realization that, and we've addressed this on our show before, that education is not about learning how to use a tool. Go to a friggin' vocational. Anyone can, remember when ChatGPT 3.5 came out? You don't use that thing the same as you use the tools now with the reasoning models, right? So educating your kid on how to use, how to cheat using 3.5 is stupid, because a year later he or she has to relearn everything, figure out a new way of cheating on stuff. You know what I'm saying?
You know what they're doing? You know what they're doing is, this is something that I heard from some of the educators. They have given in and they're embracing AI because they're like, this is the future. And so what they're doing is when they put out the test, they'll say, okay, step 1, take the test with AI. Take the test with AI. Step 2, take it without AI. And so they're starting to look and try to figure out, how do we grade based on the use of AI. And then also the other thing, like the engineering school is looking at, it's not just the kids are using AI. What do we do? It is AI is already embedded into supply chain, logistics, and all of these back office systems. So how do we ramp up our curriculum so they're actually using AI for the things that they need to be using AI for? And so I think that they're starting to look at all the different elements. But this is not something that we talked about a year ago during our board meetings at A&M. So it has ramped up aggressively, although kids were using it a year ago.
Yes, what she said.
Oh,
Hey, there he is.
Bad.
But
But children are going to use AI as they are using, as we used to use calculators, right? So probably there was the same discussion, 30, 40 years ago when the calculator,
Right.
50
Kids will never learn math
calculator.
if they have a calculator. Right.
Indeed.
You know what? You know what? My limo is here. Bye.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah.
You did.
I'll check you later. I'll see you in business class. Bye.
Awesome.
Oh gosh.
He came on just for that.
Yeah, just to brag.
Be in the Delta One lounge.
Oh my God.
That also means he's not home on a Friday for the weekend with
Mm.
where you want to be generally.
Yeah.
He's working.
The life of the analyst.
His private jet will bring him at home on time.
So, Marc, what were you? Go ahead.
Say again?
What were you saying? You were going to say something.
About AI.
Yeah, no. I think, And actually, I was thinking a lot about this because I was teaching during 4 weeks on the university a month back, and I saw a complete different behavior of the students now that they have available, very good ChatGPT models, and all the work was completely different, right? Or the outcome of their homeworks were completely different. And I think it's good that allows them to go one step further. So if you, as a student, I think if you have curiosity, that's really interesting to have these tools because it allows you to get one step further. If you don't have curiosity and you just want to deliver whatever homework as is, it's
right.
yeah.
That's most similar. Like
the same happened to me with the Wikipedia, right? So I also copy and paste Wikipedia.
Sure, Google search
pages to deliver. Even not that before Google, right? When the first Encarta, I think it was called here in Spain, like first encyclopedia in a CD-ROM.
No,
so we were just copying and pasting.
World Book.
And you know what? That's an interesting point, Marc, because one of the things that made me think of is I was having this conversation a few weeks ago with a client, and what we're saying is market research has changed because with AI, everyone thinks they're an expert. Everyone thinks I don't need to pay for market research. I don't need to pay for thought leadership. I don't need to pay for, someone who knows about the industry to give me any insights because I can go pull that from AI. Mm-hmm. And so it leaves you with this superficial, like some of these buyers out there, they know better, right? But it's the everyday people that are out there. It leaves them with this superficial knowledge base that they think, oh, I'm not going to invest in that. I don't have a budget for that anymore.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But that's a wrong mindset, I guess. That you cannot think that you're an expert because you have access to ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever.
Right.
Because everyone else does too. So
I'm tempted to say, let them fail.
No.
Maybe they are not going to fail, but I think you have to position as an analyst on the position of, sure. So you have this knowledge now. You have an extra.
If they don't fail, they're right.
Just, yeah.
Or they
They're
got
gonna feel
absolutely.
they'll feel some heartburn. They'll feel some pain. They'll feel the pain. It's not going to get what they expect.
Feel the pain.
So maybe then we need to go. What's the value of an analyst, right?
Well,
so you want to grow these, or do you want to grow? No.
Yeah, it does. Right? It challenges our industry, or as a consultant, advisor, an analyst, whatever, is that you have to go deeper. You have to really go into their business a bit, another layer than maybe you have in the past. It just makes us work harder. But it also allows the people that do work harder, i.e. Leonard, a couple others that are out there, it makes them stand out, because what they're getting value wise and what they're paying for, it shines. It shows up. And then I think a lot of those folks that are kind of out there playing the outside, the outskirts, the superficials out there, they're just not going to do well.
You know what? Here's the thing that the people who are going to stand out, because it's all about signal and noise right now. And this is a term that Bill loves to use. The noise floor rises with AI, right? So it doesn't mean that things are getting better. It's just there's more noise, but then also a little bit more, flattening of the curve, like what you guys are like talking about, where it democratizes a certain level of knowledge and semi-reasoning. And this stuff doesn't really reason all that well in my use of these tools, but sticking out really means knowing how to ask the next question, because the problem is these things can answer whatever, but if your questions are generic, they're not helpful, they're not forward thinking, because that really is the role of the analyst. The analyst should be able to anticipate what is that next important question, and the consensus, the majority, does not focus on that. They have no freaking clue.
But with the exception, as today, my sister sent me her scans for she has cancer. Pray for her. But she sent me her scans, and we put that in. She's like, I put it into ChatGPT. Thank you. And she's like, and it summarized not only what the scan said, but it also said, you may want to ask these questions of your oncologist, and you may want to explore this. So it does go a little bit of it's doing more than what I saw a year ago. So, and it is asking some of the hard questions for her as a patient, but it also scares me because there's so many people that are feeding into that. And, what are you missing if you're not asking the hard questions? I don't know. I feel like, those folks that use AI that are younger and they may become a little bit more well-versed. Are you training yourself to use it in the right way? I don't know.
Yeah. And Olivier, we talked about good enough like a couple of weeks ago, I think, right? I think that's another dynamic that may allow, that provides the person who's about to fail, or you think will fail, a bit of latitude to quote unquote, succeed, or at least, benefit from the perception of not failing. It's good enough, and there's a huge market for good enough. Like there's like a huge market apparently for something like jingle farts, or, like friggin' cute cat videos that demonstrate how to use LLMs. I mean, for some reason, there's like huge market for this crap. And that's where actually all the eyeballs go. So if you do like a TikTok dance to explain, how, digital twins work, that will beat any content that is long form like ours and is less, let's say, entertaining in terms of having a dance or a little jingle or something like, well, we do that right in the beginning, but you know what I'm saying? It's
gimmick driven. No, I think that a big thing of what I've noticed and where things really stand out, and maybe it'll get this way is I feel for the most part, the AI tools that I've played around with, there's some really good marketing ones, by the way, but the ones that I've played around with, they lack critical thinking of someone who's been in that industry or has been working for that company or whatever it is for, has a history behind it. So the critical thinking piece to me is missing. And then, of course, I know Bill and I have talked about this. I think we've talked about this on IoT Coffee Talk, is you're only as good as the data that's feeding into this AI model. And if you're using horrible data, or if you're a company and you're trusting your customers' data or your employees' data, is it good?
People just don't understand the nature of their data. And that was like one of the things that I had a lot of conversations about at RSAC. And, forget about security. There's security and then there's quality. There are those two problems that AI faces. And it's unbelievable. The larger your company, the bigger problem that you have. So,
I just want to also, Verizon just had their analyst meeting about an hour ago on their DBIR report, their data breach report. And they just started asking questions about use of corporate liable devices for AI access and all that. But they did put some data out around ransomware attacks and just the exponential growth in it. And then the results showed that for SMBs, which to me, it's a little bit larger of a group, so less than 1,000 employees, they were paying the actual ransomware people to, on average was like $85,000. And I'm like, wow, it's just amazing what folks are paying out there to get their stuff back or to protect themselves. But, if you get a chance, pull that report. It's available for anyone to go check out. There's some really interesting stats in there, but it kind of follows on with RSAC, right?
Right.
Some of the craziness that's happening in this school.
It is just the beginning. That's the scary thing. I mean,
data breaches.
Olivier, you were talking about the whole Bob thing.
Yeah. You want to talk scary? Go read. I think I mentioned that already in a previous episode, but there's this book, a series of books actually written by Dennis Taylor. The first book is called We Are Legion. Parenthesis, We Are Bob. And the premise is that we are in like a very near future. There's this startup founder who gets his exit, has a lot of money, gets drunk, finds this company that promises to freeze his brain once he dies to unfreeze him when technology allows to bring him back to life. And he's like, I'm going to sign the thing. Just walks out of the building after signing and gets, rolled over by a boss. So he dies. He wakes up later. We don't know when. And he is basically, technology couldn't revive his entire body, but his soul, is everything himself, is like his brain is being restored in a computer as an AI, right? And past the phase of discovering that he has no longer body or whatnot, and so most of the people became like totally mad and crazy, and that couldn't survive that. He passed that, and then becomes that sentient entity that can duplicate itself, replicate itself, and is sent on a probe, across the universe to discover new worlds and whatnot. And he's sent on this probe that has like 3D printers, and he's able to reproduce like things and create and whatnot. And the entire series is about, on one hand, what happens on Earth with a version of himself that he replicated himself and is staying there. And then he's traveling across the universe, discovering new worlds, and humans have been at war, destroying themselves, and he's still there. And so it's kind of like, very on cool. One hand, kind of like fun and entertaining. On the other one, like pretty scary, because, if that happens.
Crazy. Yeah, it sounds plausible, but does he reach other universes? Because they're already talking about other universes.
It's actually pretty like, that's the thing, which is time is no longer a problem, right?
Yeah.
Neither are cosmic rays and gamma rays, right? As long as your spaceship is,
Well, you need the radiation shielding on your equipment. What's the name of the book, Olivier? What's the name of the book?
We Are Legion.
We Are Legion.
That's the number one. And the series is called the Bobbyverse. The guy is called Bob.
But it is scary. I had lunch with a friend in Santa Clara just yesterday, and we were talking about, actually the metaverse is not gone. It is here. It's just not in a form that anyone really imagined, except for maybe a few who may be consciously shaping what's going on, right? But it has everything to do with what we see with people. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's like a whole flood of just AI generated weird crap, right? And that where the level of authenticity is starting to blend with our perception of what is true, right? And what is real. And then it really very easily gets integrated with whatever it is that is the basis of fantasy or what have you. But the other thing we talked about, beyond this like sort of merging of what is the digital and what is the physical, and Debbie, you and I have talked about this ad nauseum for years now. It's like kind of scary. Yeah. Is this whole notion of the basis of truth with the deep fakes, really taking it now into a commercialized level, right? Because usually these technologies are taken to the mainstream, but supported by some nasty stuff like porn and criminality and stuff like that. Now, because the technology can scale and be diffused widely, it's now having a different impact. As it becomes more of a publicly available capability, and so the big danger here is that whatever this thing is that is starting to form around this, let's say, let's call it super AI or wherever this concept that people have been pursuing. The danger is that you're going to have people who can shape the truth about you. And we talked about this already on our show. Mm-hmm. These LLMs will spit out a representation of you that is not true. Now mix that with what you can do from cybersecurity in terms of prompt injection and poisoning and all this whole huge range of stuff that is now, scaring the living crap out of CISOs.
Yeah. I think
can so easily become a victim. And
that was kind of the ramp off with the avatars and language, and then the recordings of moms that sound frantic, and it's not really her voice, but it is her voice, but it's AI generated. I mean, and what you're saying, Leonard, is taking that to the next 2, 3, 4 levels. And where we are already at a point now where we should be questioning what's real versus what's not real, because there's so much stuff out there, right? And I don't know if everyone is, but I think most of us, we are probably a little bit more worried about that kind of thing. But think about the average person that's out there. And they're already, the elderly they're already a vulnerable population. That they are trying to scam, and fraud is happening like rampantly. But think about how many people are going to pay that money or do whatever they're supposed to do, or even crime or whatever, as a result of thinking something's real when it's not, but because it looks so, you can't tell.
That's kind of like metaverse. It's just a really twisted version of it, Evil metaverse. Yeah, no, think about it. And then the number, $10 billion or $10 trillion economy. That's like freaking scary. That looks like a pretty, for some folks, especially ones who, grew up in an education system where they didn't learn anything, but they learned how to use AI, and they can't find value in a conventional economy, an economy that actually produces something. What are they going to do? They're either going to be poor, or they're going to start participating in this fast growing economy where you just rip people off, or you undermine, or you try to, game the conventional economy, the one that actually produces something. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. So the criminal economy, you make your own hours, your own boss, right? So I mean, there are a lot of attractive things.
Debbie, they were just saying that I was listening to the news today that 2 out-of-country people bought, this is in 2023 in the Texas lottery, created these warehouses, and they bought these lottery ticket machines, and they bought all these lottery tickets so they would win, and they did win. So now Texas has decided to defund the lottery.com or texaslottery.com. And it was all, they just outsmarted the system, and the lawyers are like, they could not find anything that says this wasn't illegal.
Yeah, because it's on a blockchain or whatever. And so, immutability, just because something is mutable doesn't mean that it's trustworthy. We've said this from the beginning. I mean, this is like 6 years ago, you and me, Debbie, right? We said this 6 years ago when all these blockchain people saying you can, and Bitcoin and crypto guys are saying you can trust it because it's on a blockchain. And, we were telling people, and we've been telling people since, you cannot trust it just because it's immutable. The quality of trust is something you have to design in, and it's completely a non-technical thing. So you guys are killing it. This is awesome. But Bill got to have an opinion.
This is a scary episode. This should be a scary episode for most that are listening.
Somebody's got to say, but we're the minority. Honestly, this is a very minority perspective but then that's what's even more disturbing is that people just don't see it. And, the more I see solutions, I see areas where there's going to be a huge benefit for people to invest in, to address the upcoming problems. And cybersecurity, cyber trust, the demand of cyber trust is going to be huge. Whether in IoT, bringing everything back to IoT, we as IoT community, right, have to figure out how to instill trust. That's always been a challenge, right? Mm. But we don't have enough vendors talking about trust. They talk about, is your shit encrypted? It's like, that's only part of it.
I know my eyes roll every time people think encryption is like the solution to everything. It's like, no, not exactly. And then a privacy context, I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. That's almost like there's a difference between having a key to a house and owning a house, right? So in a private perspective, you have a right, almost like owning a house. That's different than having a key that protects the house. And then who has the key? Anyone can have a key.
I have a little cybersecurity anecdote. So we have this event coming up, AGI Milan 2025, July 2nd through the 4th, by the way. It's going to be awesome. And you should go to our website at AGI Foundation and register. But what was really interesting was, and we're getting popular, and like I'm seeing our logo getting
everywhere, dude.
People are putting on their websites and stuff. I'm like, who is this people? But anyway, one of our partners emailed me today to say, hey, I got this email, and it said, are you interested in the attendee list for the AGI Foundation Milan 2025? Here, and it had our logo at the footer of the email. So it was like a phishing email.
Jeez.
Someone trying to sell a list to one of our events with our logo on it.
You're famous.
To a certain extent, I was like, "Hey, that's pretty cool. Like, we're worth hacking or whatever."
Yes, we've made it.
But it's amazing. This is the lack of trust, like you said. It's becoming pervasive on data breaches. I mean, and all that stuff. And it's only going to get worse.
I'm glad that you brought that up. This is a huge issue with like ransomware and phishing, where some of these lists, maybe not your list. So depending on what what they're on the list for or of. You know, maybe it's of maybe an application or something that gives someone more information about someone that they maybe would not have otherwise known, and gives them enough credibility to write a message that makes them click on a link or something. And so, yeah, I think people are talking a lot about these lists, and I get emails all the time from marketers saying, "Hey, I have a list of people who use this software or go to this place," and stuff like that. Yeah. It's like, I thought, man, this could be like super dangerous based on they're getting what they do with it.
Now, you guys tell me this, but I have the most common one I've been getting lately. And I'm like, there's something tied to this, but I never go to the next level with them. But I get at least one text a week from someone I don't know. And they're texting me something. I don't even know what they're talking about. Oh, meet me at the barbecue next, something wild. But I'm like, what are they going to do next? Because, of course, I never respond. But I'm like, This is the beginning of a scam. And they're trying me every week with something random, different number, different area code. That's one I've been getting. And then another one is on my Etsy store for IoT Coffee Talk. And I'm starting to get random. Oh, I love your site. This is great. But they're opening the door for something. They're going to send me a link to, it's not a legitimate conversation.
No.
And I'm like, they're really starting to get into the little nooks and crannies of me as my personal life to try to get me.
Right. It's like a numbers game.
The first thing that they're going after is your IP address.
Right.
That's the very first thing that they're going after.
How do they get the IP address from a text chain?
No, you have to respond.
Have to respond first, and then they're connected. Gotcha.
And anywhere else, I mean, basically that is like one of the first back doors that into any system.
Right.
And then depending on how sophisticated they are, then they may jump right past you, but you opened up the door and they're like, thanks, and they ran right into the kitchen and started eating your food.
What you're saying, Bill, is they didn't need the key.
No,
they just break in. They break glass, and then
you just let them in.
Right.
Door.
It's a numbers game, and the issue is for all of us. We're reasonably educated and sophisticated on this, but we all have aunts and uncles and folks that we know that may be
family members.
Yeah, family members. It happens all the time, and you can imagine it's a numbers game. Like I was talking to my mother-in-law yesterday. She's like, I don't even answer the phone anymore. I never answer the phone.
Yeah.
Even if I recognize the number, I don't answer it. It's like, because I just get too many scam calls and whatever. So she's just like, that's it. She just doesn't answer the phone, period. That's one way of doing it. It's crazy.
Well, she's on top of the trend because like young people don't answer the phone. It's
that's true. Yeah,
someone right
following the trend.
Yeah. How dare you call me when you could have texted me?
Or text me before calling me.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I get that one.
Yeah. Actually,
do that.
There's like decorum, right? Nowadays, people they go, "Hi, is XYZ there?" When they're calling. It's like, when they do that, I hang up the phone.
Right. You already know they don't.
As hi, my name is XYZ. I'm with this. You identify yourself. I don't know where this practice went away, but if you call someone, you should identify yourself, especially if you're calling someone that you've never called before, you don't call very often.
Is there there's a business here? Is there an ISP that has an offering for data and text only, no voice? I'm sure we could. There's something to do here because I know the young generation, they would buy into that if it's a bit cheaper than the actual one.
However, they may not do phone calls, but here in the States, it's for sure they do FaceTime. Lots of groups FaceTimes where there'd be like 10 boys, like preteens, and I can hear all their voices in my kid's room, and I'm like, "Are you on the phone?" He's like, "No, FaceTime." So they will FaceTime, but they will not do a phone call, and they will definitely not email. That young, they don't email. No.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to send emails to my kids, and 1 week later, did you read that email about this super important thing you had to RSVP for? And just like, oh, what email? And then you look at their inbox, and there's like 3,000 unread email, and you're just like, and they're just like, yeah, I'm giving up. Like, I'm not reading that.
No.
Okay.
They don't do it.
Yeah, that's a different that's a different problem.
You talk about trend lines, the way we communicate and how it's evolved. It's so different, and you're so unattached now from your people, and that's how the kids are, and they will only attach themselves to their immediate friends, and that's it.
Yeah, Pete, we need to restart the kin business, the kin device.
That's
right. Doing all these social media. And...
I have a case of them in my garage. We can get started with those.
Look at you.
Let's do it.
Mint in box.
Kin 2. It's going to be called Kin 2.
Kin 2. Electric Boogaloo.
Hey, Debbie, I think I cut you off. You were going to make a point earlier.
Oh.
Did you forget?
I kept trying to tell all my elderly people that I know about the phone calls that they get and not like responding. Like a lot of times pick up a phone and not say anything. And eventually they'll at least that call will stop. They think it's like a dead number or something.
Yeah.
But Steven told me, because I was going to tell her, don't answer questions.
Yeah.
They ask you, right? Because, and she picked it right up. She's like, yeah, because the answer you give or the response you give, they can record that and put it on other things. So, like, they'll try to get you to say yes so that they can record it and have you use it. Maybe your credit card company that uses voice prompts and stuff. So she says anything, she's like, hey. They're like,
probably do AI voice print, and simulate.
Yeah. I wonder why all of these automated systems that use like an AI voice to start the call off, they've not done a good job at the time, because it's usually too many seconds before you hear them.
Right. Blank.
And if I hear a 2-second like emptiness, that call is going to get hung up on no matter what, because I already know it's a system. But they have not done. I'm surprised they haven't done a good job at really starting that conversation immediately.
I'm sure, it's coming.
Oh well, they've done a piss poor job with the interviews as well.
Yeah.
Did you see the one where the two AI agents were talking to each other?
I didn't see that.
No, I haven't seen that.
It was during an interview, and and the guy. I mean, it's on TikTok. And the two AI agents are interviewing each other.
I love it.
Yeah, that's that Microsoft, right?
Is it what? Yeah. Did someone set it up to where they had two phones and they did it, or was
one screen, and it was supposed to be a group interview, but the AI agents started interviewing each other.
Strange. I have another interesting scam anecdote. So the same mother-in-law I had about a year or so ago, she called me and she said, I've won Publishers Clearinghouse. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. And I'm like, what happened? He's like, oh yeah, well, they notified me and I won this thing and da-da-da. And I was like, okay, don't answer the phone. Don't, and so I was talking to my wife and so I was like, okay, so you call them. And so they called and they called Publishers Clearinghouse themselves and they clarify, and she actually ended up winning. She's like $60,000. But I know, it's crazy. Even like the money, I'm like, well, they can send you the check. Don't give them any bank information. They can send you a check. And they're like, okay, they sent me the check. And I'm like, okay, put it in the bank and let's see if it clears. And she put it in the bank and the check cleared. And she ended up winning. It's crazy. So, but she the point is that we thought she was going to get scammed, but she actually ended up winning a lot of money. So there you go. But you have to verify from your end, right? So you have to call them. You have to
verify and then trust. Not
you got to initiate the all the communication to verify.
I think the other one that's really going strong too is now when you search for a company. Of course, you've got. Google has their little AI tool at the top, whatever. But now what you're seeing is the results there. It looks like the legitimate company and they're disguising themselves. So even the websites at the top of your search engine list is not the actual, it's like you have to sit there and key in that website that you already know. And if you don't know it, you might be going to some other website and it looks just like
Well, they should have a browser extension that blocks all the sponsored results and only shows you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're going to do that.
Then you won't have. Well, I mean, Google wouldn't make it, but someone could rock that.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's getting real because I feel sorry for DocuSign because they're being leveraged. I think at a massive scale in scams. You guys have probably received phishing emails with before you could tell it was fake. Now you can't tell it's fake. It looks straight up legitimate. If you go and you look at the email addresses, they're legit. It's like scary.
I got one last week, Leonard, it was from my old EA. I had an executive assistant for a while, and it had like a reply to her that they forwarded to me. And they were like, this PO has been open, this invoice. And it was like, you still owe $143,000. And I was like, so they're really working some deep old angles. And I'm like, wow, I hadn't had her as an EA in a few years.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
but it looked like it might be a PO. It might be an invoice. It might, so I'm like, but I already knew better. But this is the level that they're going through. They're digging deep with the relationships that you have and the clients that you have and trying to create documents that look like they are coming. You're getting a statement of work from someone. Like, no.
Yeah. And think about, let's go back to the $100 trillion or the $10 trillion cyber criminal economy. It's going to eventually have a platform to take things really to the next level. You have the dark web, which now with all these data breaches, they basically have a nuke, right? That can take out like all of civilization. Basically, all you have to do is put like a super AI on top of this thing and train it with everyone's information that's sitting in, including social security numbers and probably everything else that you can imagine sitting in the dark web. Think about how massively
all the different pathways in.
Yeah, I mean, this is not even science fiction. This is going to be fact.
Yeah.
If an economy is growing faster than any economy on the planet, and is currently at a scale of $10 trillion a year, and it was $8 trillion last year. Imagine.
I found out a month ago that my social is on the dark web, and it came from a financial institution. Yeah. And I have no recourse other than I have insurance and all of that. That if my identity gets taken, but I don't really have. I'm like, talking to some of the, you can put some things in place with the credit bureaus, but there's really not much. You can't do anything. There's nothing.
Just monitor. You have to monitor everything and read your credit card statements every month.
So here I am waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, pretty much.
I know a business we can get into. It can be called cyber. It could be cyber cave. It's like people who want to just go dark and, find a cave to hide in from all this cyber stuff.
A digital cave.
Yeah. It's like that, Battlestar Galactica stuff that we talked about all the time. But, the cost of instilling trust is tremendous, right? And it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And I mean, this is the stuff that when I go to all these conferences and I'm talking, and I always ask about cybersecurity and cyber trust, right? That is the foundation of my research agenda. I just get friggin' scared. And I literally go, like what we were talking about earlier, Olivier, put me back in the Matrix. Put me back in the Matrix. I want to eat friggin' that juicy steak that everyone else is eating and, be in that fancy restaurant. I don't want to see what I see. It's insane. It's insane.
You want to be like Rob, huh?
Be like Rob. Eat fancy steaks.
Out the Delta
One habit.
Business class. Oh my gosh. I don't know.
It's not.
Yeah, I see too much. We see,
I don't know.
actually,
is LifeLock publicly traded? Maybe that's that. Maybe that's the investment tip for the day.
I think the saving grace of all of this and the hope is that at least, if the folks who see it can start to address it, because the demand on the demand side for protecting the conventional economies is going to be cyber trust.
Yeah.
And I think, I've been doing a lot of work with network APIs and operators on this topic, and it's not just security; it's a trust element. And a lot of it, I think, is going to become sovereign. You can't delegate your trust infrastructure to another country. You have to have that foundation within.
Yeah. Well, maybe this is the killer app for agentic AIs. Your personal agent is your personal cyber bodyguard. Basically, is with you at all times and monitoring all your stuff and making sure you don't open that email or answer that phone call or do.
I think all of us on IoT Coffee Talk would pay a premium for that if we knew that it would do its job.
Cyberbodyguard.com.
And maybe that would be
my question would be, can you trust it?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Well, you get a bodyguard for the bodyguard. It's got, what do they call that? Reasoning. You have a reasoning model there where you have multiple bodyguards enforcing trust on each other.
Well, it's almost like you're opening the door for a criminal. I'd be concerned if you built an agent and it does everything you want, but then someone, instead of breaking into all your stuff, they just take over your agent and have them do things.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. No, you would have to, yeah. But someone who is like advising you is almost like a cyber bodyguard advisor that's monitoring.
Someone creates the digital twin to take for the agent, and they know everything.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, it's like body snatcher for your bodyguard.
Yeah.
The literal bad actor.
Yeah. No, it's people are definitely not thinking this stuff through. But then, the gravity of convenience and laziness, I mean, let's just call it what it is flat out laziness, it's going to pull things in the wrong direction. It's, I think real innovation is going to be, how do we protect everyone and create safe havens for people, around privacy, around, an organization, around a government, a nation, you know what I'm saying? It's, and those questions have not been answered. There's really not people, when they think of trust, still think in terms of just identity. Trust is much broader than that. And then they go, it's part of security. It's like, no, you say that because you are in network security or you're in endpoint security. Trust is a holistic thing. It's much bigger than that.
Yeah.
And people don't tune into it because the critical topic is such a macro topic, and everyone is more of a player within a silo of the bigger picture.
Right.
And so can you see the singularity? Can you see the black hole? That's the biggest problem. That's where humans like us, people who have discussions like this and friggin', bat around real experiences and ground truths that we deal with on a daily basis or witness on a daily basis. That's what differentiates us, and why probably so few people watch our show, because they don't get it. They don't see that there is.
That's why no one watches the show.
Yeah. No, there are people who watch the show. There's no doubt about it.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
But look, I'm not kidding too.
I got a notification last week to nominate a podcast for the Signal Awards. Of course, it was one of them. It's probably a phishing thing. I didn't trust it and didn't know what it was. But I was like, we do deserve a award, damn it.
Yeah, we got an award going on here. By the way, I know this is a dark episode, but it's somewhat related, and that people can go Google it offline. But I heard speaking of podcasts, an episode the other day. It's talking about sort of a resurgence of popularity of the writings of Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, and his manifesto. Wow. There's like folks now that are really like looking at what he wrote about technology and society. And it's very interesting. It's a really weird subculture thing going on, but there's a whole movement around like his writings and stuff. And it's really weird, but you look at what he wrote back.
Did you come across that TikTok, or where did you come across?
It was a podcast episode from, I don't know, something I'm listening to somewhere, but I was like, wow, that's interesting. It's like, it's like a whole thing out there. So if you go Google it, you can find all kinds of interesting stuff. A reanalysis of his writings. Obviously, terrible person. So
that's why. Yeah. I said it in January, and it's proving itself out. But 2025 is the year of FA and FO.
Which, by the way, you're hearing a lot of. I see that a lot nowadays. You know, I mean, that acronym, people throwing around like crazy, dude. You started to rub.
You should, yeah. Trademark that. Make some merch.
You're a bad man.
There it is.
I knew it.
Oh my God. It's ridiculous. All right. Well, I think we can call it an episode. Huh? Go ahead.
That's a good way to wrap it up.
Yeah. See, we're all in tune. We're like we're a tight harmony here. We know
this is the FA and FO episode, especially around cyber risk, cyber trust, cyber security.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So what, Stephanie? You want to take us out, or since you're represent? Oh, I am too, but.
Well, we had a lot of good rep today.
Yeah, we do.
All right, we're going to close it out. So, FA and FO is essentially our theme today. We, you know what? You got to check out all the episodes at iotcoffeetalk.com, and don't forget elevateourkids.org. Get on board with us. Make a donation. You want to join us next week, next month? Small donations, large donations, we take it all. And also buy the merch. You can find the merch on the VMark Provisions on Etsy. Or you can go to IoT Coffee Talk. There's a link for it. So actually, not on IoT Coffee Talk. If you go to elevateourkids.org, you'll see the links to buy the merch. So thanks for joining us. And until next week, don't take us seriously, please.
Awesome. So good. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Y'all have a good day. Good weekend.